Dane Brugler of The Athletic has released another mock draft. This one is a 2-rounder. I would highly recommend getting a subscription to The Athletic if you're considering it. Dane is one of the best in the business. We had him on the channel last year. I thought we made some really good content. Hopefully we have him back again in 2024. This is a 2-round mock draft, as I mentioned, and we're just going to jump right into it with the Chicago Bears at #1 overall, taking Caleb Williams. Not going to spend too much time on this. I think if you guys have been on the channel before, if you're subscribed, you know how I feel about this. I think it is going to be the decision that ends up being made from Ryan Poles. Justin Fields, you'd have to extend. It's going to be at least $25 or $30 million annually to do that. It's a huge commitment to a quarterback that maybe you're not entirely sure about. Caleb Williams resets the quarterback clock, is way cheaper, and you have way more control of that player. 5 years, whereas Fields needs to be extended. It's not the same if you reset the quarterback clock. Caleb Williams, I expect to be the #1 overall pick, although I do think there's a chance it's Drake May as well. But I think if he's not the #1 overall pick, he will be the #2 overall pick. Commanders take him here at #2. We've talked about this a lot. I think Drake May is one of the best players in the draft. I think he would have been the #1 overall pick last season and the year before, and I don't think much has changed. Still a really good prospect, and the Commanders, I don't think, are committed to Sam Howell. Drake May, new head coach, new general manager. Commanders could be a team to look out for. They've already got some good receiving weapons. Offensive line could be a bit better, but it also could be worse as well. Patriots going Marvin Harrison Jr. This does differentiate from, Daniel Jeremiah's last mock draft where he had Jaden Daniels. I had Jaden Daniels as well. But I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is certainly in play. He might just be the best player in the draft. And the Patriots are missing that big-time outside receiver. They've got a couple of guys who are okay. This is someone who is an immediate game changer, wide receiver 1. And I think you can say the same about the Cardinals taking Malik Nabers here. They're missing that big-time outside receiver under contract for 2024 and beyond. Malik Nabers certainly is that. Now, you hope Michael Wilson can develop and become a really nice, serviceable #2, but they're missing that #1. They've got 2 first-round picks. Malik Nabers makes a ton of sense to be one of those guys. Brock Bowers at 5. I had this as well, and I think there are 3 things that happen with the Chargers. Brock Bowers, top wide receiver available, or top tackle available. And I would lean maybe top wide receiver available. It's very, very close. You could say Brock Bowers is one of the top 2 or 3 players in the entire draft. He's available at #5. You need a tight end. I could certainly see it happening. Wide receiver, I think, is obviously in play as well. But the Chargers, they need a big-time tight end. You can't really do any better than Brock Bowers. At #6, have the Giants going Rome Odunze. Yeah, Odunze, big-time size and speed. Really, really good hands. He's a crafty route runner as well. And the Giants don't have that wide receiver 1. They've got like a bunch of wide receiver 2 or 3s. They've got a deep threat in Jalen Hyatt, Darius Slayton, but I don't know if you can really rely on Paris Campbell or Isaiah Hodgins. Certainly not Sterling Shepard to be a wide receiver 1 in an offense. You need one. Rome Odunze is one. Titans go Joe Alt at #7. Yeah, I mean, they need tackle. On both sides of the line, Joe Alt could be the best one in this draft. Makes sense for the Titans here at #7. Falcons go Jaden Daniels. Well, they've lucked out. Jaden Daniels is available at 8. You need a new quarterback. You might not force one if Jaden Daniels is off the board, but in this scenario, he is on the board. I think you jump at the opportunity to take a franchise dual threat quarterback that continues to get better and better and better. Dallas Turner is the first defensive player off the board at #9. I still think that happens. The Bears need to improve their defensive line. They trade for Montez Sweat, that's fine, but you need another one. Dallas Turner, incredible athlete. His best football could be ahead of him, and he's already a good player. This is not like a toolsy project, the same way like a Chop Robinson is out of Penn State. This is someone who's already a solid run defender, can already rush the passer a little bit, and is as athletic as they come. Jets taking Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. I think he's right up there for the best tackle in the draft. Yes, you'd like to see him improve more as a run blocker, even though he did take strides in 2023. Still in that conversation to be the first tackle off the board. I think he's the best pass-protecting offensive tackle in this draft. Jets really need help on the offensive line, particularly at tackle. Now, It is thought that Elijah Vera Tucker could move out to left tackle, although probably a more natural guard. I know he played some tackle, or a decent bit of tackle at USC. Fashanu could just leave him at guard, or maybe AVT goes over to right tackle. Maybe Fashanu kicks over to right tackle, but probably the best pass-protecting offensive lineman in this draft. Gotta love him to the Jets at 10. Vikings go Leatu Latu. Yes, you could use a quarterback for sure, but you could also use an edge rusher in a huge way, especially if you can't come to a long-term agreement with guys like Daniil Hunter, a DJ Wanham. Leatu Latu could be somebody that comes in and ends up starting right away. He's got certainly a very high floor as a player. Really, really love Leatu Latu. And injuries could, drop him here from number 11, but certainly a chance that they take a chance on him given their ability to take chance on injury ridden players in the past. Latu is an incredible player. You'll check out a little bit of a clip here, and it's the dip and just firing through to the quarterback. Great hands. You can see him swipe away the tackle's hands there. Now, it's against Oregon State, but that is not Talisa Fuaga, the top tackle that's over on that right side. So, fun clip, but not going up against his best tackle in that class. Not that it matters. Broncos taking Terrion Arnold here. Not that it matters for the sake of this mock draft, I should say. Broncos taking Terrion Arnold at number 12. Yeah, could be in that conversation for CB1. He is as feisty as they come. And as I've mentioned, a ton of ball production with 17 passes defended, 5 interceptions in 2023. Certainly was targeted a lot more than Kool-Aid McKinstry, it would appear. And he made the most of it with just being a lockdown type corner. Could be the first one off the board. I think Nate Wiggins is still in that conversation, although Daniel Jeremiah had him way down the board in his most recent mock draft, his mock draft 1.0. We'll see what ends up happening. I like Nate Wiggins a lot. I know he's not a finished product, but I like the potential with the length, with the speed, with the competitiveness as well. But Arnold, certainly in conversation to be that first corner off the board. Broncos could use an upgrade. Raiders, this is awesome. This is awesome. J.C. Latham is maybe the best right tackle in this draft. That's what the Raiders need. Colton Miller on that other side. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about Alex Leatherwood being close to J.C. Latham, who's a way better prospect. But is it a quarterback is really what Dane's wondering about here. It could be. It could be. But I don't really know that there's a quarterback worth taking here. And this is kind of what I've been doing in these mock drafts where I'm like, I don't know that a QB is going to go here. Do I force one? Or do I just take the best player available at a different position of need? And that's what the Raiders do here. Saints go Jared Verse. They continue to kind of miss on these edge rushers. I think Verse is actually worth taking at this point. He's a really, really solid player. And I think they've really been not cashing in on some of the edges they've drafted, like Peyton Turner, for example, like even Isaiah Foskey. It's early for Foskey, but wasn't in love with him as a prospect. We'll see if he can take strides. But Carl Granderson's a nice player. You need somebody after Cameron Jordan, and we're getting to the end of the road with Cam Jordan for sure. 15, Colts going Nate Wiggins. Yeah, I still think he's in that CB1 conversation. Colts certainly need corner, and with Chris Ballard's history of taking height, weight, speed players, Nate Wiggins seems like a perfect fit. Seahawks going my guy, Byron Murphy out of Texas. Hook him. Yeah, the Seahawks interior defensive line certainly could be upgraded. Draymond Jones kind of played a decent bit of edge in 2023, I want to say. So they might be looking for an interior disruptor. It's tough to do better than Byron Murphy. He's got really great overall size. I think the arm length might be a bit lacking. But in terms of freak athleticism, you're not going to find much more than Byron Murphy. Yes, Jerzon Newton is a really, really good interior rusher. Murphy could offer some higher upside. I do not mind him going first here in terms of interior defensive linemen. Maybe that's my Texas bias, but I watched Murphy wreak havoc for the past couple of years. Yes, playing alongside Devondre Sweat this past season really enabled him to get a lot of one-on-ones, but he made the most of them. He is, yeah, a great interior disruptor. Jags going Brian Thomas. I've kind of wanted the Jags to go with a receiver. Calvin Ridley has some question marks long-term, and I'm not necessarily enamored with Christian Kirk and Zay Jones making up the rest of your starting three. I think getting a big-time wide receiver 1 could be really good in the development of Trevor Lawrence. I love Brian Thomas Jr. here. Awesome player. Deep speed for days. Bengals go Amarius Mims. I think I had this in my last mock draft as well. Really athletic, high upside player. And Bengals could use an upgrade at right tackle. Mims would be somebody you can develop on that side. Rams is where things get interesting. J.J. McCarthy at number 19. Yeah, following the Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre type meta with Jordan Love and, of course, Aaron Rodgers before. Stafford's not going to be around forever. Has already had injury concern. Now, the Rams' defense absolutely needs to be upgraded. But if Sean McVay thinks he can develop J.J. McCarthy, and he's very toolsy, really athletic, big arm, I like this for the Rams. If anybody can get the most out of J.J. McCarthy, it's going to be Sean McVay. I think this is actually quite a good fit. And it's a run-heavy offense. You don't see a lot of J.J. McCarthy making a ton of big plays, but it's 1 or 2 a game where he really wows you with precision, timing, and a lot of zip on the football. J.J. McCarthy has arm talent for days and can really run. Steelers going Cooper DeJean here at number 20. They do need to upgrade that defensive secondary, and DeJean can play a bunch of different positions. Really love him as a player, and I think it's certainly in the conversation what the Steelers might do, maybe at safety, nickel, or even boundary corner for Cooper DeJean. And this is as early as we've seen an interior offensive lineman go in a mock draft. I certainly have not done it unless we've talked about like a Troy Fautanu type player who is a tackle moving the guard. JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon, is an actual center. The Dolphins could use one to replace Connor Williams if he hits free agency. Hook him, of course. But Jackson Powers Johnson had a great season for Oregon. A big part of their success and a big part of Bucky Irving's success at running back was Jackson Powers Johnson paving the way. He moves so well in space. I was really, really excited to watch him. And I watched him mid-season. Still need to get to more games, but he was somebody that really stands out when you watch the Oregon offense. He is super fun. Really, really good interior offensive lineman. Would be playing center, I imagine this. Like, you could move him to guard, but he's a center. He looks like a pure center to me. Philadelphia Eagles going Quinion Mitchell at 22 out of Toledo. Really, really good athlete. We talked a lot about him. The Eagles could upgrade in their secondary quite easily. Now, I know that some have pushed back and say, we have good depth at corner, but you don't really have that top-end talent anymore. Darius Slay, I wouldn't question it. Certainly good, although not as good as he used to be. Can you really count on James Bradbury, or you're going to sell me on Zech McPherson, or Josh Jobe, or... shoot, who's the Alabama corner? And of course you have Keely Ringo as well. Who is the Alabama corner? I have his face in my mind. He was an LSU transfer. He's got a brother that's quite good at LSU. Why can I not remember his name? I have his face in my mind. Eli Ricks. Yes, Eli Ricks. Forgot that for a minute. They also have Bradley Roby and Avonte Maddox. Texans at 23 go Talisa Fuaga at Oregon State. I've mentioned it before. Mauler in the run game. Now, a lot of scouts liking him best as a guard is interesting. I still think he can stick at right tackle. He seems to have right tackle or NFL tackle size. But when you talk about someone that's as good in the run game as he is and moves as well as he does and as powerful as he is, moving him to guard is actually kind of a fun choice. Cowboys going Tyler Guyton here at 24. One of the most athletic tackles in this class. It's a very strong tackle class. He'd be your new starting left tackle, I would assume, even though he's played a lot of right tackle. You get the Tyler combination. Tyler Smith has emerged as one of the best guards in football. Tyler Guyton is just a pure tackle. Don't even have to worry about moving Tyler Smith out to left tackle, which was maybe the thought when you drafted him, but doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Packers go Troy Fautanu. Get good depth with Fautanu because he is profiled best as a guard who might be able to stick at tackle. And the Packers love their versatility on the offensive line. You look at a guy like Elton Jenkins that have kind of fit a similar profile, played all 5 positions, I think, or at least 4. I don't know if he played center. I think he may have, but at least 4 positions on the Mississippi State offensive line. Fautanu is someone with a lot of flexibility as well, and the Packers could certainly use an upgrade on the interior of their offensive line. And maybe even tackle, depending on what happens with David Bakhtiari. Maybe you continue to develop Rasheed Walker. Zach Tom's obviously very good. But Faetano gives you flexibility, and that's really, really valuable. Tampa at 26 goes Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama. Really patient corner, and the Bucs could really use an upgrade at corner. I mean, their pass rush, I think, could be upgraded as well, but their secondary gets torched. But also, improving your pass rush could help that out, but you certainly don't hate a cornerback with this pick. Cardinals go Kingsley Suamataia, offensive tackle at BYU. Yeah, I don't hate this. Paris Johnson could maybe play some left tackle, and then Suamataia could start at right tackle, you'd probably think. Paris Johnson obviously taken with a pretty high pick last year, but you have questions about DJ Humphries, and yeah, Suamataia could be certainly worth the selection here at number 27. Now, these picks could end up changing. This was before the division round of the playoffs, so this next mock draft will change, but of course the player to team fits matter more because, I mean, would you argue Suamataia at 25 but not 27, or 27 but not 29? Like, you'd be being annoying at that point, because these things are certainly possibilities. At 28, you have the Chiefs going Jerzon Johnny Newton out of Illinois. Interior disruptor, game wrecker, a little bit undersized. I said that, and you're like, oh, 6'2", 290 is not undersized. It's, first of all, he's a little over 6'1", but shorter arms is what you talk about when you talk about undersized. Length is so important on the interior. Newton doesn't have it, but we've seen players get around that if they're powerful enough or quick enough. Elijah Cansey had a nice season for the Bucs. Ed Oliver was a guy who was a game wrecker at Houston, but shorter arms had you wondering, is this really an elite interior defensive line prospect? But he developed and is now one of the better ones in the entire league. I think Newton won't have a problem, but the Chiefs continuing to improve their defensive line, you're not going to be mad about. Really, really good player. I think he ends up being a first-round pick. If he falls out of the first round due to size, I think that's probably the only reason. At number 29, Bills going Keon Coleman out of Florida State. Now, he did have a meteoric rise at the start of the year because he was dominating. No way around it. But has fallen off a little bit up to this point. I think losing Jordan Travis probably hurt his draft stock a bit. But this is a guy who I still really like. He's someone that his type of player, somebody that I've fallen for before. The elite go up and get it guy that maybe isn't the best separator. That is Keon Coleman, but I think he's more athletic than some of those guys before. And I value separation more than anything at the receiver position. Obviously hands too, but separation is something that plays at any level, right? Keon Coleman, not really an elite separator, but I think because of how athletic he is, I think that's something he's going to be able to improve upon. But at the end of the day, he is 6'4", 215. I think he does have pretty good speed. He might not be a burner, but he was returning punts for FSU for a reason. This is a really good athlete, and the Bills getting a big jump ball receiver, I think, is really, really fun. Lions at 30 go T'Vondre Sweat. Yeah, so he wasn't hyped up coming into 2023. He had all the potential in the world, but he was somebody that was an underachiever, and I knew this as a Texas fan. He took it up to another level in 2023. He won the Outland for best lineman in the nation. He was the best player in the Big 12. He was the best defensive tackle in college football this season. You could not run on this guy. Texas had the best interior defensive line duo in the nation in T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. Murphy more of the pass rusher. It's more valuable. He goes higher. Sweat, certainly more of the run stopper. That's why he might go lower. But I love to see him getting some hype in the first round. He's as dominant as you can get from an interior defensive lineman in terms of stopping the run. He is quicker than you'd think because he's 360 plus pounds, but I don't know that he's ever going to be a dominant pass rusher, which is what teams pay for. But at the back end of the first round, I love it for a team that just says, hey, you're not going to be able to run the ball on us. We've seen how dominant Vita Vea has been on the Tampa Bay Bucs defensive line. Sweat, not the same level of athlete, but you're not going to be able to run on him. And I love this combination with Levi Onwuzurike as a pass rusher, Aleem McNeil as a great player, best interior defensive lineman on that team, in my opinion. Awesome player. And the Lions, man, they'd be building something special on that defensive line. Still need edge. Not an amazing edge class. A lot of the good ones are off the board. I could still see JT Tuimoloau out with this pick, Braylon Trice, but I love T'Vondre Sweat here. Of course, hook him. Love T'Vondre Sweat. Niners go Graham Barton. College tackle that profiles as guard or maybe even center. Really good offensive lineman that would offer you versatility. The Niners need upgrades at a lot of different spots in their offensive line. And then Jordan Morgan, I think, probably stays at tackle. The Ravens certainly need that. Big question marks with Ronnie Stanley, Morgan Moses going forward. Jordan Morgan could end up being a starter sooner rather than later. The Ravens, I think, are in play for wide receiver, tackle, corner, and defensive line. Got to re-sign Justin Madubuike, but tackle here is among the top list of needs. Jordan Morgan might be one of the best players available at this pick as well. Seems like a match made in heaven. Make sure you subscribe for more NFL draft content as we get into round 2. Carolina Panthers going Adonai Mitchell, A.D. Mitchell from Texas. Hook 'em. Gotta love it. Now, here's what I love about A.D. Mitchell, Adonai Mitchell. He is fluid. He is somebody with great size that moves different for somebody of his size. You know, he's 6'3", 6'4", 205 pounds. Here's the thing, is the Panthers, I feel like, already tried to draft a similar type player in Jonathan Mingo. They might prefer more of a true separator with this pick. I love Adonai Mitchell, and I certainly wouldn't question the Panthers taking receiver. I think Mitchell could be a stud. You got to develop him a bit. He needs to be a better route runner, needs to be better at separating, but he is an awesome jump ball receiver and, again, a fluid mover. But is it the best fit for Carolina? I might prefer someone that can separate a little bit better, but I love Adonai Mitchell. His NFL potential, I think, is crazy high. And it's funny that T. Higgins is here because I see a little bit of T. Higgins in the game of Adonai Mitchell. And I love Mitchell as a prospect. Of course, Texas bias in there, but he's an incredible player. When Texas featured him in the offense, their offense moved the ball. Mitchell is just, he's a great jump ball receiver. And is someone that, again, I hope has a great NFL career. Patriots at 34 going Bo Nix. Well, you don't take a QB at number 3. You get one at 34. And I like Bo Nix. I don't love him, but I like him. And I do recognize that there's upside there as well. He's got a good arm. He's got good mobility. He's got good toughness. And, yeah, I joked around and said 70% of his passes were behind the line in one of my last videos. That's a joke. You're not throwing 70% screens in your offense. But it was around like 28, 29, 30%. It's still a high number, which is kind of what I was going for. And I'm not saying that, oh, that means you can't throw the ball down the field. And it was just the offense. Like, there are a number of different things that go into that. But he's not the same player he was at Auburn. But I do question if he can carry an offense and be worth a top-end first-round pick. However, I will say, if Mac Jones can go in the top half of the first round, Bo Nix can easily be a first-round pick. Probably like Bo Nix more than I like Mac Jones as a prospect. So in a league that prioritizes quarterbacks as they should, Bo Nix could shoot up the draft board and go even higher than 34. I do think he goes higher than Michael Penix. While he is old, he's still younger than Michael Penix without the injury history, and I think played just as well. So that's my take on Bo Nix. I don't hate him as a prospect. I just don't know that he's a surefire first-round pick. Here he goes at the top of the second round. Kind of like Derek Carr territory when the Raiders drafted him several years ago. Obviously, David Carr was the Texans pick, taken at number 1. Derek Carr with the Raiders, of course, 36 in the draft, something like that. At 35, the Cardinals go Chop Robinson. Big-time potential, extremely athletic edge rusher, is a project. Now, does have elite explosiveness. You see him just easily get into the backfield there as quick as ever. You match him up against a guard, it's over. He's way too fast. But is he someone that can be an every down game changer? Or is he someone that ends up being a designated pass rusher? These are things you worry about with a guy like Chop Robinson, who is not a refined pass rusher. And against refined offensive linemen, is he going to be able to change the game the way he does here? You can see him get the edge here. Decent enough bend, but it's just explosiveness for days. At number 36, Commanders going Patrick Paul out of Houston. Really good pass protecting offensive tackle. Yeah, Chris Paul was the, I believe, Tulsa offensive guard that the Commanders drafted. And yeah, that's a fun fit. Brothers on the offensive line, on the same offensive line. But Patrick Paul, huge body on the offensive line, starting tackle, really good in pass protection, and it's an upgrade for the Commanders. At number 37, Dane has the Chargers going Chris Jenkins from Michigan. Yeah, son of former four-time Pro Bowler Chris Jenkins as well. He was a really good player. Now, Chris Jenkins was a super hyped up guy, really good athlete. I think he tests off the chart. He really showed up in the college football playoffs, and I think he's going to be a good NFL player. He's got the NFL bloodline, but has also showed signs of being an awesome player. And for the Chargers, seems like they need interior defensive line every year. This year appears to be no different. Titans at 38 go Kamari Lassiter, cornerback out of Georgia. He had a great season. Titans really, really could use an upgrade at cornerback, and Lassiter certainly fits the bill. I like McCreary as a nickel long-term. Kamari Lassiter is a boundary guy. And you're starting to build a pretty decent secondary there as the Giants go Braylon Trice at 39 overall. Edge rusher out of Washington. First, the Giants' 2 second-round picks. You really can't count on Azeez Ojulari. Injuries have just been too much of a problem. And they need somebody that can really get to the quarterback. Now, Braylon Trice has been a big, high-rating pass rush win rate guy, but he can also set the edge. Yeah, maybe not the craziest athlete, which is why he gets down the board here a little bit, but I think high potential guy, or a high ceiling or high floor guy at least. He's not Leatu Latu, but I think he's more Leatu Latu than Chop Robinson. And what I mean by that is not crazy athlete, but refined and does, you know, the things he's supposed to do, set the edge, doesn't really, you know, over pursue or give up his rush lane. You know, this is someone who is a disciplined pass rusher, and that's what you like to see, and is someone that can win with their hands, which is an NFL-type trait. Commanders go Tyler Nubin out of Minnesota. Now, this is just because Cam Curl is a free agent. If you re-sign him, keep him with the Commanders, I think you'd go a different direction. Tyler Nubin up there as the best safety in the draft. There are a number of guys who were in that conversation. Tyler Nubin, Cam Kinchins, Jaden Hicks, maybe Kalen Bullock. Like, there are some decent safeties. Nobody's super elite. Tyler Nubin, I think, is the first one off the board here. And the Commanders would replace a free agent. That's essentially what that is. Nubin's a really good player. Yeah, definitely athletic with ball skills. Packers go Jaden Hicks. I think he does have some ball skills as well, but this is a box safety. Played a lot of box safety for Washington State. He was particularly impressive in the Washington game. I watched him against Washington, and Michael Penix had a tough time. Had a tough time in that game. Jaden Hicks was a big reason why. He had maybe even 2 interceptions in that game as well, but it was certainly a thumper coming downhill. Jaden Hicks is kind of what you need from a modern-day safety that can come up and tackle and also has the athleticism to cover in space. Maybe not elite in that area, but in at least the game I watched against Washington, his man coverage ability was pretty good as well. So this is someone that I like. Really like Jaden Hicks, and for the Packers, they need an upgraded safety, no question. And I also think Darnell Savage has an expiring contract as well. So is he a Darnell Savage replacement? Not quite, but could use more depth at safety. Jaden Hicks is a strong safety, I would say, opposed to the free safety that Darnell Savage is, but Hicks could end up being a starter sooner rather than later. Minnesota Vikings go Rook Orororo. That's how you pronounce it. It's Scooby-Doo here on the Clemson defensive line. And yeah, in this scenario, the Vikings double up on defensive line. I think at 42, you might take a shot on a quarterback here. Michael Penix available at 42. I wouldn't hate that at that pick. I think he's a day 2 guy. If you want to force a QB, now would be a decent time to do it. But Orororo helps you out on the interior. He's a really athletic interior defensive lineman, and Clemson just continues to produce these awesome defensive linemen. Now, will he end up being a good NFL player? Clemson's produced some great ones and some not so good ones. Rook Orororo, we'll see if he ends up being one of the great ones. Falcons go Jalen Polk out of Washington. I love Jalen Polk. Maybe not a super elite athlete, but his competitiveness with the ball in the air is almost second to none. Keon Coleman might be number 1 for me, but Polk has such incredible ball skills. I think you can play him in the slot. I think he can win on the outside. Again, maybe not a super elite athlete and not a super elite route runner, but I think very good in some of those ways and has certainly incredible ball skills. That's the number one thing you notice when you watch Jalen Polk. Big time hands, body control, can go up and get it. Love Jalen Polk. Raiders, go Michael Penix, not too far after the Vikings here. Probably the most polarizing quarterback in the draft. Dane says Penix was an outstanding college passer, but there are several areas of his game and medical history that complicate his projection. Raiders shouldn't be giving up on Aiden O'Connell, but they need to add new life to their quarterback room and see how it plays out. So, several areas of his game that need to be improved. Well, he does not do his best under pressure. He does not do his best extending the play. Not really strengths of his game. And he's at his best when he's rocketing the football in there. When you force him to throw with touch, or even the deep ball, gets a little bit wonkier. Certainly does. Penix is a good player. Medical red flags all over the place. We'll see how high he ends up going in the draft. I wouldn't mind a team taking a shot on him in the second round. I think in the first, it gets a little bit scary. But in the second, day 2 somewhere, I really am all for it. People think I'm a Michael Penix hater. I would say I'm a realist. And I don't hate him as a player. I just recognize that he needs to improve, and injuries could really, really hurt where he goes. Somebody was asking me about Dominic Puny not too long ago. Or Puny. Puny? I can't remember. So sorry about that. You'll correct me in the comments. Somebody was asking me about him, though. And yeah, he played tackle at Kansas. Didn't allow many pressures at all. Really good player. Good to see him in the top 50 here. Really, really good pass protecting offensive lineman. Could shift inside the guard as well, but shorter arms mean that he probably will move inside, or at least a team might think about it. Could also stick at tackle. It's tough to say. Depends on where he would be drafted. But yeah, he started at both tackle and guard. Was very good at tackle. And yeah, pretty good prospect. Could certainly be a day 2 selection. This early, I don't know, but it's a weaker interior offensive line class. So if you have a lot of these guys that could move inside from tackle to guard, Dominic here could be in play to be a day 2 guy. Indianapolis Colts going Chris Braswell, another really good athlete. Really, really good athlete that had a good season. And he dominated at times. I think he gets pushed in the top 50 for sure. And the Colts, who love big-time athletes, go with a big-time athlete to upgrade their pass rush. Don't hate it at all. Giants doing what the Commanders did. Xavier McKinney set to hit free agency. Same thing with Cam Curl. Javon Bullard, to his history as a nickel and a safety, could end up sliding into that spot. And Giants try to upgrade their secondary with this pick. Now, Bullard's an interesting one. You would be playing him at safety in this scenario. Certainly not nickel. Giants have so many nickel corners. But I'd love to see them re-sign Xavier McKinney and go a different direction with this pick. But if you don't, Bullard's certainly in play. Maybe even if you do. Because McKinney could play strong safety. Javon Bullard at free safety. Dane Belton could be a rotational guy. You lost, Julian Love a year ago. Certainly a possibility. Although with Cooper Beebe on the board, I would kind of like that for the Giants too. Goes the next pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, he's a good interior offensive lineman. And if you think he can play 3 different positions on the O-line, he's incredibly valuable. So, Jags, I've had them going at times with, Duke's great tackle Graham Barton that could play guard. And now the Jags maybe take a true guard, still working to upgrade that offensive line. Bengals at 49 go Ladd McConkey. McConkey's great, dude. This is a really awesome player. You think white receiver, you think guy that's a technician, not going to burn you, good, reliable hands. Some of those are true of McConkey, but this is a guy who can burn you. He's got good deep speed. He's a deep threat that really can take the top off the defense and sneak right by you. Really, really good player. It's an awesome stacked receiver class. It'll be really interesting to see where Ladd McConkey ends up going, but I think he's going to be a good, solid NFL player and a great receiver too in an offense. Really, truly believe that. Eagles at 50 go Junior Colson, linebacker from Michigan. Yeah, good athlete, thumping linebacker at times too. And the Eagles linebacker room is not very good. Junior Colson would potentially upgrade that. Steelers go Zach Frazier out of West Virginia. Maybe the best true center in this class. Jackson Powers Johnson also in play. Zach Frazier, decent fit here with the Steelers. Their offensive line just continues to need upgrading. And whether you like him at guard or center, he is upgrade. He's an upgrade, and he's depth, which I think is really important. Tackle certainly needs to be a position the Steelers consider as well. And there are some good tackles still available. Maybe Yale's Kieran Amagadiji. Jeez. Amagaji. Shoot. Kieran Amagaji. It's Amagaji. I learned how to say it, but I forgot the order. It's Amagaji. I needed to see it. So, yeah, Kieran Amagaji might be in play as well for the Steelers. Might be a little bit early for him, but everyone seems to love him. I haven't watched him yet, but everyone seems to love him. Yale offensive tackle. Rams go Ennis Rakestraw from Mizzou. Now, does have some injury history, but physical press corner on all accounts. Another player I have not watched yet. I know Trevor Sikkema loves him. Has even had him as high as the first round. I think Daniel Jeremiah as well. Rakestraw here goes to 52. Maybe injury plays a part in that. This is a player I'm excited to watch because everyone seems to love him. Press man corners are fun to watch. Erasers is how I kind of think of those guys. So Rakestraw could definitely upgrade the Rams secondary, which is very bad. Plain and simple. Eagles go Kalen Bullock at a USC. Bullock does concern me. Yeah, questions about his tackling. Tackling and pursuit angles for Kalen Bullock when I saw him early in the year, not great. And I also don't know that he has super elite movement skills. You can call him a true center field safety, and this could just be from watching a game or two, but I wasn't super impressed. Now, obviously things could change when I go back and get to safety at the end of the cycle probably as we approach the NFL draft. Things could change. I could be really impressed by Kalen Bullock, but from the game or two that I watched, was not thrilled, and that's maybe because I value tackling from a safety, and he's not really that guy. But maybe a true center field free safety. Those guys are tough to find. If he can do it, going to be incredibly valuable, and the Eagles secondary is bad. Browns go Troy Franklin at 54. One of the biggest deep threats in this draft. You talk about Xavier Worthy, Malik Neighbors, Troy Franklin as big-time home run deep threats. Franklin might be the most explosive of all of them. Dolphins go Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker to Texas A&M. He might be the first linebacker off the board. I think that's a possibility. And he had a great breakout season for A&M this past season. Dolphins could look to get another big-time linebacker in there. As the Cowboys go with Texas player Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks gets complicated here because of a torn ACL, late in the 2023 season, but might be the best running back in the draft. He and Trey Benson are going to be right up there for me. Jonathan Brooks was incredible at Texas. He's got big-time speed, and it's patience, vision, and the make-you-miss ability. If he can get up to the second level, third level, which he's done routinely at Texas, he will make those guys miss. Safeties cannot tackle this guy. He is a home run threat for that reason alone. I love Jonathan Brooks. He waited his time behind Roshan Johnson and Bijan Robinson and had a monster 2023 season. Incredible player. And yeah, what stands out the most to me when I watch him is the patience, the shiftiness, and then the ability to make that safety miss for a home run. Did it all the time. Cowboys need more depth at running back. Tony Pollard is also not a lead back for me. He's a great player as a change of pace guy. Tony Pollard is at his best when he is sharing carries, not shouldering the load. And even if you lose Tony Pollard, I don't mind Jonathan Brooks and Rico Dowdle. Cowboys have a pretty good running back group. I love Jonathan Brooks. As a Giants fan, I would hate to see him go to the Cowboys. Obviously, big Texas Longhorns fan, as I've explained a billion times at this point. Just family in Texas growing up. Went to Texas, made me a Texas fan. That's it. And it's been a bumpy road, but guys like Jonathan Brooks lately have been really fun to watch for the Longhorns. Bucks go with another Texas player. Got to throw the horns up. Xavier Worthy. Big-time speed. Play strength. Contested catchability are questions. But getting open and getting deep down the field are not. You also get a fantastic return man right away. Packers go Kalen King out of Penn State. They need an upgrade at corner. Now, you might have some hesitation here with the last name King. You guys remember Kevin King? Not a great player for the Packers. Kalen King, I don't think there's any relation there, but you're hoping would be different. Packers certainly need to upgrade that secondary. Corner is certainly a position of need. As the Texans go with receiver Malachi Corley. Really fun to watch. Watch this 2022 in the summer. And this is a guy who is the Yak King. He's not Deebo Samuel, but is the closest to Deebo Samuel you're going to find. He's got big-time run after catch ability like a running back. He's compact but tall-ish, and he is an unbelievably fun player to watch. He is someone that, get him the football, he will make things happen. Really, really awesome player to watch. Just like Deebo Samuel, though, you can't tackle this guy. As the Chiefs take another Texas player. Where are all the guys? In Texas, no players drafted. Yeah, because they all went back to school. Last year had a couple. This year we'll have a bunch. Tavion Sanders is the next one. Second best tight end in this draft. Could go a lot earlier than 60, in my opinion. Big-time athlete with very good hands. He could be in the first-round conversation. That might build up as we get closer to the NFL draft. You know, you had Sam Laporta, Michael Mayer, Luke Musgrave. All these guys went off the board pretty early in round 2. Tucker Kraft a little bit later. Tight ends flew off the board, so maybe that pushes a guy like Tavion Sanders down. But this is a top 50 player for sure for me. And that's Texas bias aside. He is a phenomenal athlete with great hands. Blocking could hurt him. I'll say that. Blocking could hurt him, but really, really good player. That's your Travis Kelce replacement, or even tight end 2 for now, while Kelce is still with the Chiefs. Bills go Cam Kinchins out of Miami. I like Kinchins. I think he's got really good range back there. Did have some up and down games. I know he had that brutal missed tackle to lose Miami the game. Was that against Louisville? Can't quite remember who that was against. Could have been Florida State. I can't remember. It was a close game. I think it was one of those two. I don't think it was against UNC or Georgia Tech. I think it was against Louisville or Florida State. Big missed tackle at the end of the game. But I wouldn't let one play kind of tell you what you think about a prospect. He's got good range. I think he's going to be a decent tester, maybe nothing crazy, maybe 4 or 5 type speed, or in the 4 or 5s. But he's got good instincts and good range, and I think that is super valuable when it comes to a safety. I think instincts might be the #1 thing. He could be one of the first safeties off the board, maybe even the first safety off the board. Here he goes at number 61 of the Bills, who need a safety. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, good players, but are older. Lions go TJ Tampa out of Iowa State. Big press man corner. That's what you're talking about with TJ Tampa, is strength at the line, press, getting those receivers off their routes, and the Lions need help at the position. TJ Tampa gives you the ability to run a lot of press man if you want to do that. As the Niners continue to upgrade their offensive line, here is Kieran Amagaji, offensive tackle at Yale. Everyone seems to love him. I have not seen him, but we'll see if he's a Senior Bowl guy. I haven't seen if he is or not, and that could be very interesting to watch him in the one-on-ones. Guys explode up draft boards if they have good Senior Bowl practices, if they're dominant, I should say. And then the Ravens go Darius Robinson out of Mizzou. This is your typical like 3-4 defensive end type guy. Big time defensive end, can set the edge. I worry if he's really going to be a big time pass rusher, but certainly somebody you can try and develop, and worth a pick here at number 64 overall. Really, really solid athlete. And that is Dane Brugler's 2024 NFL mock draft with 2 rounds. See if we can get Dane on the channel sometime in the near future. Recommend subscribing to The Athletic for articles like this. It's not very expensive, and you get a ton of value back. Not sponsored, but Dane's content is very, very good. I'd recommend it. See you in the next one. Take it easy.